Thank you for staying with Africanews. This program is dedicated to football news. The news has been disrupted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome to Football Planet. Coming up. FIFA is determined to save football. The president announces an emergency aid fund and a series of consultations to assess the financial impact of the COVID-19 crisis. This is one of the three immediate priorities unveiled by Gianni Infantino, who's placed health on top of the list. Faced with a pandemic that has led to postponement of almost all championships in Africa, CAF has decided to postpone semi-finals of the Champions League and the CAF Cup. No date has been announced yet. And then a report on the life of footballers in the period of forced holidays. We meet two Cameroonian players who will talk to us about their daily lives. Details shortly. It was only a matter of time as seen in other confederations. The African inter-club competitions did not withstand the coronavirus. After qualifiers for the CAF African Cup of Nations 2021, CAF finally decided to postpone the semi-finals of the Champions League and the CAF Cup of Nations. Not surprising in view of the global health crisis disrupting sporting calendars around the world. Elvis Bo reports.
The decision was inevitable due to the ongoing health crisis in the world. The semi-finals of continental interclub competitions will no longer be played on the scheduled dates. The decision was taken by the Emergency Committee of the Confederation of African Football, which had no choice in the face of the global health crisis that has brought football to a standstill almost everywhere. And no one knows whether the season will resume or not. In any case, the football body did not take the risk of bringing forward a date for the Champions League semi-finals, initially scheduled for the 1st to the 3rd of May and the 15th to the 17th of May. The same applies to the Confederation Cup, scheduled at the same time. And it is not just the cup tournaments that are being impacted by the spread of COVID-19 across the continent. The qualifiers for the Women's World Cup have also been postponed to a later date. The rescheduling of all these matches will ultimately depend on the evolution of the crisis.
An uncertain situation indeed. Just be reminded of the fixtures from the Continental Interclub semi-finals. In the Champions League, we'll have Zamalek versus Raja of Casablanca and Al Ahly versus Wydad Casablanca. In the Confederation Cup, Hassania Agadi will face Aras Bakai, while Pyramids FC will challenge Horia AC. But it's hard to say at the moment if the season can really get back on track, and even if it were to continue, readjustment of the football calendar will be needed. Some countries have already started to do this. That's the case for Senegal, where the federation has simply decided to cancel the national cups. But elsewhere, we don't pay much attention to it. Burundi has not suspended its championship. FIFA president denounced this attitude. We'll hear his reaction, but first, a report by Ignacio Zano. Burundi's football season is still in full swing. The country's first and second division championships continue even as it registered its first cases of the coronavirus. On Saturday, 2 matches of the President's Cup took place at the Intwari Stadium in Bujumbura. The public was only obliged to undergo temperature checks and hand wash before being allowed access to the stadium. This may not be surprising in the country where authorities have cited divine protection to reassure people against COVID-19 infections. Sufficient to allow them to continue the Premier League, the name of the local First Division Football Championship. But question is the passion for sport for Burundians stronger than the need to stem spread of the coronavirus? Stronger or not, let's hope this passion doesn't turn into a deadly poison. The FIFA president sees the passion for football in a different light. Gianni Infantino considers it irresponsible to organize matches at a time of a global health crisis.
We have a priority. That is the fundamental principle that we apply to our competitions and which we encourage you to follow. It is simple. Health first. I can't emphasize this enough. We can never sacrifice human life for any game, competition, or championship. Wherever you are, this must be perfectly clear in your mind. It would be totally irresponsible to resume competitions if the situation is not 100% secure. If we have to wait any longer, we will. It is better to wait than to take the slightest risk. So let us listen to the messages from health authorities and experts. It is good to work with them and follow their guidance and advice.
We have to if we want to stop spread of COVID-19, which has brought football to a standstill for several weeks now. Even if the clubs try to cope, for example, by cutting wages or terminating contracts, the shortfall is still huge. And in exceptional circumstances, exceptional measures are needed. In the face of growing concern, FIFA is reiterating its determination to save the sport through a well-endowed aid fund.
Chers amis,
dear friends, you have heard about our priority, and that is the emergency aid fund that we are setting up. I would like to tell you a little more about it. Thanks to the work we have done at FIFA, over the last 4 years, our financial situation is very solid. FIFA enjoys a good reputation on the financial market. This has enabled us to consolidate a solid foundation and build up substantial reserves. But these reserves do not belong to FIFA. The money is for football. When football is going badly, we have to think about how we can help. That's our responsibility and duty. That is my opinion as FIFA president. Football is at a standstill all over the world. We are facing financial problems at different levels. We are all affected from grassroots football to professional teams. We are currently working alongside you to assess the financial impact and propose an appropriate response. It is important for you to know that we will not abandon you and that we will find solutions together. You will never be alone. Our teams are currently working to define the most appropriate response to your needs.
This is reassuring news, and football will need it if it is to survive this crisis that is depriving many of their passion for the game, which is now almost only bouncing around behind closed doors in the spirit of forced vacations. Even though the championships have come to a standstill, some players continue to train on an individual basis. This is the case in Cameroon, where our correspondent David Eyenge Nzema went to meet two local league players, Luwak Maxime Fidje, goalkeeper for the Union Sportive de Douala, and Aruna Dank Ambisene, striker for Bambutus FCD Mbuda.
Lockdown in countries affected by COVID-19 has taken a heavy toll on professional football players around the world. Most of them are trying to keep their morale and fitness up in the long wait for the resumption of group training and competitions. Such is the case of this Cameroonian international and member of the Douala Sports Union, Loic Mazim Fuju. Having no championship to prepare for, he now makes time to coach young football enthusiasts.
These are young people with whom I work since I became a professional goalkeeper. Today it's a continuity because we have a WhatsApp group in which we communicate to find each other. When you want to work, you just have to send a message in the group.
The heart of professional games appears not synonymous with a holiday for Aruna Dangbisem. The midfielder has set aside a space in his home to keep shape. Every day, he schedules himself to an intensive workout routine.
Our club gave us a work program. I have personally added the program of my team of fitness trainers who follow me from Europe. I'm lucky to have this small space at home. I try to do my best to keep in shape with these exercises.
For some of these professional players, stay at home still means business.
The most important thing is that they find the pitches and a good atmosphere in the four corners of the globe. And far from the calamity of COVID-19, let's talk about the shocking interview with President of the Gabonese Football Federation, which will no doubt not please Arsenal. Pierre-Alain Mungingi has urged Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang to leave the club. He describes the player's adventure with the Gunners as a collective failure and believes the Panthers captain should aim higher. Quote, "I don't mean to say that Arsenal isn't ambitious, but Arsenal doesn't have the same high ambitions as some other clubs when it comes to Europe," end of quote. The Gabonese football board said Aubameyang's score of 20 goals in all competitions this season with Arsenal will appreciate the message as he does not lack contenders. And then there's some good news for former World Football boss Sepp Blatter. The Swiss justice system is about to close a case against him. An investigation was opened in September 2015 on a controversial contract that the Swiss Public Prosecutor's Office has decided to close without further action. But the former FIFA president is still being prosecuted for the alleged unfair payment of 1.8 million euros to Michel Platini, then president of UEFA in February 2011. After more than a month behind bars in Paraguay, Ronaldinho was released from prison. The former Barcelona star was released on bail and placed under house arrest in a hotel in Asunción. It was not a discreet arrival, as you can see in these images. Reservations at the hotel have reportedly skyrocketed since the announcement of the Brazilian's arrival, and he's paid $1.6 million in bail. Many thanks to the technical and production crew. News continues on Africanews and Africanews.com. I wish you an excellent week and goodbye.